We're going to begin with some big developments in the investigations into former President Trump. Mr. Trump says he received a target letter related to the January 6th investigation. That could mean charges are on the way. Plus, what we learned at a hearing today related to his handling of classified documents. In a post on Truth Social Tuesday, Trump said he was given 4 days to report to the grand jury that has been investigating attempts to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power after the 2020 election. The former president criticized the inquiry on social media, describing it as, quote, political weaponization. For more on this, CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa joins us now. Robert, thanks for being here on such a hectic day for you. So we don't have the indictment. We don't have a target letter. But what are your sources telling you about what former President Trump could be facing here?
What we're looking at is a special counsel who's moving aggressively, knowing that if he wants to have a trial on a federal level about some kind of conspiracy that took place in the aftermath of the 2020 election, he probably needs to move more than a year before the 2024 presidential election, because Trump, of course, is already a federal candidate. The challenge for the special counsel is that what he's doing, based on our reporting, is talking to so many witnesses across so many fronts. There were different pressure points Trump had. His own vice president, he wanted him to walk away from the lectern on January 6th. He wanted state officials who were just learning today in Michigan. There's a new indictment there on a state level of 16 people who were trying to be so-called fake electors. And there are so many things that were happening behind the scenes: pressure on DOJ, pressure on activists, pressure on conservative media personalities, pressure on members of Congress on Capitol Hill, all to try to keep Trump in power under the illusion of election fraud, false claims of election fraud. This is very important right now for the special counsel, because if he's going to indict Trump for a crime, it will likely be, based on our reporting, knowingly moving forward with a scheme to stay in power, even though he was told repeatedly that doing so would be fraudulent, that by saying the election was rigged would be a false statement. And it's illegal in this country to commit fraud against the United States.
So potentially very wide-ranging charges, very serious charges. You know, you've now had the opportunity multiple times to talk to sources in the Trump camp on the eve of a letter like this or the possibility of an indictment. What's your sense about how they are reacting to this situation? Is it any different from, the way that they've portrayed their outlook in the past?
Not politically. In fact, politically, the whisper behind the scenes is that this could help Trump in terms of consolidating his support. But when you nudge them, his longtime allies behind the scenes, they acknowledge this is a legal variable. It's also a political variable. When you face a federal indictment, it hasn't happened yet, but it's potentially on the horizon here. Who knows what's going to happen? And that's not just going to complicate your schedule. It could complicate your life in terms of trial dates, in terms of possible imprisonment if convicted. And so Trump, in a way, he sees this as a way to get to the grievance of his base right now and rally them. But at the same time, he faces 4 indictments now. You already have New York. You have the classified records on the federal level. Looming is an indictment on the federal level for January 6th. And Georgia could be coming in the next few weeks as well.
And, of course, a looming trial in Florida where there was a pretrial hearing today having to do with his handling of classified documents. What did we learn in that pretrial hearing?
We learned that Judge Eileen Cannon is continuing to move forward. There's a lot of discussion about access to documents and who's going to have classified records access as part of the legal team for Trump. That took a lot of time. That's still moving forward. We haven't gotten full visibility into what Judge Cannon's going to do in terms of the full schedule of everything, but we're learning a bit more day by day. She is a Trump appointee. And this is a very serious case. Trump, as we were down there, he faces federal indictment for his handling of classified materials. A lot of time, if you just take one classified document out of a trove at the Justice Department or the Pentagon, you'll go to prison for a long time. So we're in a very fluid political moment and a fluid legal moment.
And the open question is whether she'll decide to hold this trial next year in an election year.
The Trump people are really hoping she pushes it till after the 2024 election. But Jack Smith, the special counsel who was spotted going to Subway sandwiches today, he's not saying much to the press, but his actions speak. This is someone who really is a prosecutor who doesn't want to have a public fight, but privately, behind the scenes, legally, is as aggressive as anyone I've ever seen in terms of holding Trump accountable. We'll see how it all plays out. But for now, really moving forward at a fast clip to send a target letter. I don't care if you're a former president or anyone, you never want to receive a target letter from the Justice Department. That's bad news.
No, you don't. And usually when they say they're going to get one of those letters, it happens sooner rather than later. Bob Costa, thank you so much for bringing us
Thank
the
you.
latest details.